Always fun to talk to Carson Palmer, three-time Pro Bowler, Heisman Trophy winner, joining us working with FedEx. We'll get to that in a moment. And Carson, everybody wants to know, or at least I want to know, would you want Antonio Brown on your football team?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. Obviously, with all the chaos that and the baggage that comes with him. Um, at the end of the day, he's still one of two or three receivers that can absolutely change a game. He's as explosive as anybody in the league, and he's also as undisciplined as anybody in the league. So if you're starving, if I'm the New York Jets or the Seattle Seahawks and you're starving for a clear-cut number one, the Buffalo Bills, there's a handful of teams, but of all the teams to get them, the Patriots just makes the least amount of sense in my opinion. But he definitely comes with a lot of baggage, but he also brings a lot of production and touchdown catches and yards.
See, I would say the Raiders were starving too, and it was a total disaster. Sometimes it's just not worth it.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what they said and what they showed the world was, you know what, we've been dealing with this for a month. He can't get on the same page with anybody within our organization. So let him go. And they did the right thing. And they did the best thing for their team and for their organization. So you have to tip your hat to that, because not all teams would admit to the mistake that they admitted to. Teams just aren't, GMs and owners just aren't comfortable making that admission. They admitted it. They knew it from the jump. It seemed he was not a good fit. He was not a good fit there. So, it's unfortunate for the Raiders, but I think it also brought the Raiders together and made them come out on a Monday Night Football game when all you could talk about was Antonio Brown, and Tyrell Williams showed up, and everybody on that team, on that defense, that front five, their offensive line was great. They played lights out. They proved that they don't need AB to win, and I think it was best for their team to head in the direction they're headed in.
Do you think John Gruden's the right guy in Oakland?
I do. I think Gruden's a great coach. I'd love to play for him. I think he's always wanted to be there from the day he was traded to the Buccaneers way back when. He fits that persona. Obviously, he's got a lot of respect for the tradition and everything that organization's done throughout their existence. But I think he's a great coach. I have some buddies that played there and absolutely loved him and would run through a wall for him. So I've got a ton of respect for Coach Gruden.
One more AB question. I'm just curious your timeline, because pretty much when he landed in the hot air balloon, Carson, I was saying, this is not going to go well. Just move on, cut him. I know you lost a third and fifth round pick. When did you get to the point where it's probably best for Oakland to move forward?
I kind of saw it working out early. It seemed like he wanted to be a Raider. They seemed very, very happy to have him and excited to have him. But, the hot air balloon, the frozen feet thing, the helmet issue, he was doing everything he could to get out of there for some reason. It didn't make a ton of sense. And it makes even less sense that he ends up going from Pittsburgh to a place like Oakland, who's running old school West Coast offense, very disciplined system, very, very unique routes that have to be run at certain depths at certain times, so that the receiver's routes time up with the quarterback's footwork. So that kind of threw me, because he's a guy that just kind of shakes people and gets open, finds a way to get open. Figure out he's supposed to run a slant, but the corner's really, really heavy inside leverage on him, so he just takes off and throws his hands up and goes deep. He's always been a guy that's kind of played by the seat of his pants. And then for him to go from Pittsburgh, where he could do that and got away with doing it, had success doing it, to go to Oakland, to that system, and now to be in New England, where everything's precision, everything is discipline. It still seems like an even more odd fit than it was for him to leave Pittsburgh to go to Oakland.
Who did you play with, Carson, that maybe is somewhat like that, or didn't know the plays? Hey, run a slant, run a drag, run a post, that maybe was successful out there, but really wasn't precise, as you're putting it?
I played with some very unique characters. I played with T.O., I played with Chad Ochocinco. But, the one thing you can say about AB and T.O. and Ochocinco is those guys work. Those guys work really, really hard every day. I mean, I'll never forget the days Chad ran every route for the starting offense. And then when the starting defense went up and the scout team offense came out, he ran every route for the scout team offense. So, I mean, AB's the same guy. He will run routes all day long. And then all of a sudden he showed up to camp this year and he had the foot issue. He had the helmet. He wasn't practicing. He wasn't in meetings. He wasn't around. So, I mean, that's distraction. That is taking away and almost a slap in the face to all the guys that are there and working and grinding and a part of it. So he's defined diva completely different than guys I played with. I mean, there was some diva type attitudes of guys I played with, but he's on a whole nother level. AB's blown that definition out of the water.
Let's switch to one of your former coaches, Bruce Arians, who's now trying to get things right in Tampa. What's Jameis dealing with Bruce coming in, and do you see Bruce being able to get Jameis to the next level where Tampa will actually perhaps consider signing him after the season?
I don't know. I think the jury's still out on that one. I do know that Jameis is in the best hands he could possibly be in, being with Bruce, with Byron Leftwich as his offensive coordinator. He's learning more football than he's probably ever learned in his entire life. He's those guys are on top of every single thing: fundamentals, footwork, hand placement and play action, accuracy, where the ball needs to be thrown on certain routes. So he's being coached by the best. There's no doubt about that. But the jury's still out. I mean, he's got to do it for 16 weeks. He hasn't done that yet. He's had moments of greatness, but he hasn't done it week in, week out for an entire season. And this is a great opportunity for him to prove his worth and get that long-term extension that he's looking for. But I think the Buccaneers are going about this the right way. They're going to let this year play out and see how 16 weeks of him under Bruce is going to go, and then figure out what their future holds, whether it's having Jameis as a part of it or not.
Carson, I got two more for you. Were the Cardinals right to give up on Josh Rosen for Kyler Murray?
I think they looked at Kyler as a once in a lifetime type player. Very unique, very different. A skill set unlike any other. Unlike any other skill set that any other quarterbacks come out with or come out in the last 20, 30 years of the NFL draft. I mean, you just don't see a guy that is that quick, that has that kind of straight line speed, that can throw the ball that accurately, that can throw the ball with touch down the field, that has velocity and has RPMs on his, he's got an arm. He can absolutely flick it, and his arm is very underrated. But all of that, is tied into a 5'11" package at best, maybe 5'9", 5'10". So he's very unique, and I think when you have a chance to draft a player like that and change your organization for the next decade, you got to take that risk. You got to take that opportunity.
So you're not worried about his size?
Oh, I'm definitely worried about his size. I mean, I think the issue you saw was, defensive linemen, once he gets the top of his drop, they're going to stop rushing him. They're just going to jump and try to bat down balls. If you watch the game, he must have had 5 or 6 balls batted at the line of scrimmage where guys were open downfield. So that's going to be an issue. I think that's part of the reason they brought in such a young guy in a young, innovative guy in Cliff Kingsbury. He's got to. They have to run that quick screen game. They have to get the ball out of his hands quick, because if they just sit, if they're going to sit back and take 5-step drops, defensive linemen are not going to try to sack him. He's really, really difficult to get your hands on. But he's really easy to sit at the line of scrimmage, and as soon as you see his arms start to go, defensive linemen are jumping and throwing their arms in there, trying to bat balls at the line of scrimmage. So, I think it's really important over the next couple of weeks for the Arizona Cardinals to figure out, how to improve the run game so that the defensive lineman can't do that, and how to get the ball outside the hashes on both sides of the field where the defensive lineman can't be as much of a factor.
Yeah, makes sense. You got any interest in the USC athletic director gig? I'm thinking, maybe that could be a good career change for you. Or
no, not for me. Not at this time. I'm happy what I'm doing. That's a lot of work. I don't want to work that much and that hard, because there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up there. And but I am excited, and being away from such a great university for a long time, and seeing our university go through all this. You gotta make some changes. You gotta. It seems like they're really kind of starting clean and cleaning house, and trying to really move forward and bring back, what made SC so great over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's one of the greatest universities on the planet. and they're doing everything they can to get back to that. It's going to be interesting to see and sad to see from some personal close friends of mine that there's changes happening around. So it's tough to watch, but it's probably the right thing to do. Just really trying to clean the slate and start over.
17th season of the Air and Ground program, which is providing support for the USO. You're working with FedEx, Carson. I know this means a ton to you. Let's talk about what's going on this year.
Yeah, so I'm the spokesperson for the FedEx Air and Ground Players of the Year award, and each week fans can log on. You can log on and vote on NFL.com/FedEx. You can log on to Twitter page, FedEx, and you can join the conversation at #AirAndGround. It's a great deal. FedEx is donating hundreds of thousands of dollars to our USO program, which helps our retired servicemen and women transition back into civilian life. So it's a great cause. It's a ton of fun to watch. This week I'm voting for Dak Prescott, what he did in Dallas as the Air Player of the Week. And I'm going to vote for Marlon Mack, what he did in Indy on the ground. It was spectacular. So it's it's a great way for our fans to stay involved, and it's a great cause, donating money and helping our retired servicemen and women. So log on NFL.com/FedEx or the NFL's Twitter page and vote for your favorite players. Voting's open today and closes Thursday for this week.
That's exactly right. I was going to mention that. Opens on Tuesday, closes on Thursday, 3 Eastern. Carson, great to talk to you. They're mad at you in Dallas. You're telling Dak to take less money, but I thought that was a great point. Maybe he makes more in the long run. But great to speak with you this morning, Carson.